I suppose it's not every day that a blind person shows up to a shooting video game tournament and confuses randomly selected teammates into wondering, why do we have a blind guy on our team? Only for the blind person to lead them to victory and eventually win the tournament. That's exactly what I did at E3 2017 this year. Hey everyone, James Rath here. If you don't know by now, I'm a little bit of a fan of video games. Some at least. If the Pikachus behind me couldn't tell you. People often see that I Pikachus or I've expressed interest in video games in my previous videos, but they've always wondered how. How do I play games if I'm legally blind? Like 85% of the blind population, I do still have some vision. I grew up in the era of video games, and my parents were probably a little concerned back when I was like 3 and expressing interest in Pokémon. Back then, visually, the hardware was a lot more pixelated and lower resolution. My first gaming console was the Game Boy Color, and my first game was Pokémon Blue. Actually, I think it was a Rugrats game, but I couldn't really ever figure it out. Maybe I needed some sort of screwdriver. Regardless, the first game I actually played religiously was Pokémon Blue. The Game Boy screen was very hard to see. So how did I play this game? How did I play this Game Boy Color? I think even sighted people had a hard time seeing the visuals on a Game Boy. It was a small screen, low resolution, and wasn't backlit. A lot of it was auditory, but I could still see the visuals only with a magnifier. So it was a magnifying glass that I used that attached to the head of the Game Boy, and it would even provide a light so I could play it at night or in the car. So with that accessory, visually, I was good. I was fine. But how was Pokemon accessible? Pokemon had very good game design, and it comes down to the auditory part. Most of the monsters had their own unique cry, so I could hear what Pokemon was coming out, even if I couldn't really make it out. And thanks to the unique music in that game, I already knew what town I was in before a hand even touched my shoulder. And throughout the generations, Pokemon has only gotten more clever with the sound design. Did you know that there's a whole subreddit dedicated to Pokemon gamers who are blind? Whether they are blind since birth, visually impaired, or maybe went blind later in life. They share resources, they try to source from sighted gamers to maybe help them in their quests. It's a pretty cool community. Link will be down below to check it out. When I was young, not only did I have a Game Boy, but I had a Nintendo 64. Back in the day before Pokemon went 3D on the handhelds, Pokemon actually made 3D battle simulations. Pokemon Stadium 2. These games actually had a feature where you could put your game cartridge from the Game Boy into the Nintendo 64 controller and play them on the big screen. I really appreciate this feature because when I wanted to play my games mostly when I was at home, I would just hook it up to the TV and it was such a much more pleasant experience. This feature actually carried over to the Nintendo GameCube with the Game Boy player. This way I could play all my Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color games all on the big screen. Speaking of portable gaming on the big screen, today I have a Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch is a hybrid console, so the entire console is this portable handheld device. All you have to do is dock it to your TV, and suddenly you're playing all your games on the big screen. In the past, I've released a video called Blind People Play Nintendo Switch. In that video, I was joined by my friend Tommy, who's never gotten to play a Nintendo game before. In that video, we played the launch title 1-2 Switch, a collection of minigames that don't use any visual cues. To even the playing field, I put on a blindfold, and my friend Tommy, who's been blind since birth, we went at it with a bunch of minigames, and it was all based on haptics and audio cues. Beyond that, I made another video talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and that version of the game specifically features accessibility features. The console's been out for 9 months now, so what am I playing now? What is occupying my time, and am I still touching my Nintendo Switch? The Switch's operating system, which is still pretty early in its life, already offers features such as a dark mode, invert colors, and grayscale. Things that are common to find on a computer or a smartphone. The Switch's main controller, the Joy-Cons, are actually pretty flexible within themselves. They can be parted. You're not locked down to a single grip or area that you have to hold your hands in. So what are the games that I've been playing and how are they accessible to me? First, let's start with Zelda Breath of the Wild. The game visually is stunning and easy for me to get engaged with the world. Whether there's sparks indicating that my sword is making contact, or enemies in the distance I need to interact with. The graphics themselves make it easy for the game to age, and also easier to see. Next up is Super Mario Odyssey. This Mario game lets you kind of explore and kind of go off course, unlike the Galaxy games. Thanks to the art style that the Mario games have had for decades now, it's just easy to see things. Colors pop, and I know where I'm at and where I'm going. There's also an assist mode. Now, I know a lot of hardcore gamers will bash people who use this, but it's also an accessibility feature. It lets me know that I'm going the right way. There are arrows indicating that I need to get to such and such place. I talked about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in depth in another video, but I just like the fact that there's auto steering and smart steering and auto accelerate, all sorts of features that, you might take for granted, but allows me to actually play Mario Kart. And lastly, the game that occupies the majority of my time has got to be Splatoon 2.
play me.
Let's go! Splatoon is a third-person territorial shooter. Basically, you play as a squid who's also a kid, and sometimes they're a kid then they're a squid. So the idea of the game is you want to ink the ground. You want to get as much of your ink and your color on the ground within 3 minutes than the other team. And you can do things to their team to hinder their ability to put ink on the ground, like splat them, use specials, try to, go for splats, not kills. You don't kill in Splatoon. They come back, they respawn. What's great are these two colors usually complement and contrast each other. There's also a colorblind feature which I typically leave on. It locks the colors to being like a violet, dark blue, and a prominent yellow color. But it's a lot of fun. It's a fast-paced sort of shooter that kind of keeps you on your toes. My only wish with the game, especially from an accessibility standpoint, is I wish it had mappable controls. Nintendo, come on, it's a shooter. Most shooters have these, and your fighting game ARMS has it. Just release an update, a patch with mappable controls, and you'll be making it more accessible. So Splatoon 2 was actually the game I mentioned at the very beginning of this video. I went to E3. I basically was escorted to the front of the line to compete in this Splatoon tournament that Nintendo was hosting. So I went in, I was paired up with the random team select people, and they were all a little concerned because all of a sudden there's a blind guy with a cane and glasses feeling for the controller. So they just assume that their team is going to lose then. Not the case, because I can see color and it's so easy to see Splatoon, and I have a lot of experience with the first game. I was able to lead our team to victory. The game is just a lot of fun, and it's pretty accessible for those who are visually impaired or legally blind. And yes, there are people who are totally blind who still play video games. My friend Ross Miner, he plays some games, and including Pokemon. He runs the subreddit for the blind Pokemon gamers, and check out his content. It'll be linked down below. I guess really my message is that everyone likes to play video games. It's a art and a medium for everyone. So game designers, game developers, please make your games accessible. There are plenty of resources that I'll actually link down below to get your game checked to make sure it's accessible. Whether you're an indie developer or you're a Nintendo, let's make our games accessible so everyone can play. Now I want to hear from you. Leave a comment down below and just tell me, how do you play? What do you play? What are your favorite games? Now I want to get back to playing some Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. So, thanks for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to check out the video that's generated just for you on screen. And if you want to support me and what I do, check out my Patreon down below. Thank you guys, and I will hear you next time. Bye.